not coming to me off
Girith?
the top of my head. Girith, yep, thank you.
So, on some level, you'll remember part of that bargain was that the fire was sent here as a reminder you all are not welcome. They want you gone. This was just an appeasement of it that also made it so you guys got something you were looking for, and they got you out of here quicker.
Yeah. So I mean, so Davros would have, to that end, he would have. I think he had already told Kalimtas about his meeting, but if he hadn't, then he would have kind of done that and shared it with the others as well, and kind of um, yeah, I think I remember. Yeah, he did speak with Kalimtas, and that also means that maybe if we need somewhere else to go, so we do still have the potential thought of um, going back to the goblin infested house up in North Market. um, could be tough with just the two of us, but that's
Well,
an
you guys will
option.
also notice both of you should be level 3 today, but we can still get to that here because I still want to gather where we are actually with things as well. So theoretically, one, you've already had that conversation and it's already common guild knowledge, sort of what bargain you made, and it was kind of put to some of the other guild members. Um, Ashley played one day with Babuza, and part of what he was thinking was kind of going over things just in like a solo session, and he ended up having to cut things early. But part of what it came to was for him was the recognition that, you know, it certainly is viable. I understand there's a vague reason why leaving here is worth doing. But part of the question became a recognition of, do we leave for like one safe house versus trying to have multiple safe houses? Um, is there a reason to defend this place? And that was one of the things where, like, I think it was somewhat kind of like spoken more than displayed. Perhaps more towards Stavros than could be conveyed towards the guild. That part of what the mouth of Jirith was passing on to you was that there's no amount of pale dogs who can die that's going to stop the Warrens from being what the Warrens is, and that you all don't belong here because you bring hope to this place. So that was kind of like the lingering threat is sort of there as that. And I figured, just based on kind of the timeline we set out, I figured the actual initial meeting with the Mouth of G-Wraith, where they bring information about Dalton, probably would have happened before last week. I meant to actually start the session with you guys doing that second meeting at the start of last session, but because of how Chris and I finished last Sunday, I kind of like almost just forgot about it, because we started with you guys kind of picking up on that night, basically, in the slave market. But I think the second meeting is actually something that probably should have started last Monday's session. And that's where they would have brought back information about Dalton. I'm curious what you think you would have done about that. When the mouth of G-Wraith comes calling on the second day for the second of the 3 meetings that you planned, what do you think you would do, knowing that you had already bought Dalton's freedom, but he was coming to discuss effectively like the second stage of the deal is they've located Dalton, and Now you have to prove that you're ready to vacate this place, and then you guys can like plan the physical transfer of like you guys leave the Warrens and you can take Dalton with you basically.
So okay, so you said this meeting would have taken place before we had actually recovered Dalton, or after?
I think the second meeting would happen after. But it should have had. But what I mean is, I should have had this as a part of your actual session last week, and that's part of my blunder. Is that I just got distracted by the fact that like that was where I planned to start your session, right up until Chris and I stopped our session where we did. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, so okay, so the question is what you think Davros would have done when after they got so they'd already gotten Dalton back, and then we have the meeting, and that and Jurate says that they have the information. Um, hmm, uh, yeah, I think he would still I don't know, maybe he would try and play dumb to see like what information they had. Um, like in case they knew they had found out something else like that might be useful in case he like goes to hunt down, he wants to go hunt down the Enin at some future date or something. Um, but I think, yeah, I think he would still be basically in the position where he is willing to honor the the initial agreement to um, try and essentially convince the rest of the guilds to move to greener pastures.
Gotcha. Does this sound good to you, Chris? You're not gonna, I don't know, like advise otherwise?
No, I don't think I would advise otherwise. I mean, I'm fine with trying to scout out what they know. I'm also fine with trying to find a new place.
So, at some point when you all gather, and this is just again like kind of vaguely last week, um, it could be right after you guys get back from the sewers. It could be while you guys are like waiting for Jinx at this point, and before you go to the sewers. So it's just kind of vaguely last week in the middle of that session. There will be a young woman who walks into the Crooked Skinner and just kind of like stands at the front door silently as everybody kind of like gathers their attention and start to notice that this person who doesn't belong has walked in and just stood here kind of like monolithically at the front door without any other movement other than kind of showing their presence. And this woman is vastly dressed in white leathers. You can see that her like back is covered in like a clean white woven like hair on leather cloak, and she wears a red mask, no face to be seen. And eventually Maybell kind of like looks up to her and passes like "Oh, welcome, Missy. You're more than welcome to come in and have a drink if you would care to." There's no response. A few of the other people, like from the guild, kind of like call and almost like jeer at her for some sort of like provocation to get any level of kind of response from her. Until eventually you have Kalimtas kind of like turn and like from over on the balcony. "Have you come for a reason other than to stand so provocatively?" And with this, you'll have, I am the mouth of Girith. I have been sent to treat with you. You seek one of ours, or one we have taken. And with this, I should actually share, I should have actually already passed this on, perhaps, that the second time that you all met with the mouth of Girith, it was not the same person. You have not seen that person again inside of the Warrens, Davros. The person who you met on the streets was not the person who came with the information that they had about Dalton. And now you have a third person who claims to be the mouth of Girith. Effectively, at this point, Kalimtas, for what it's worth here, I'm going to have Kalimtas basically call on the two of you to escort this person up to that top meeting hall, and you basically all can kind of sit in this conversation where the three of you interrogate slash discuss with this person the return of Dalton. So, I don't know, let's kind of hand wave why Malchin's there for any given reason, because I think it's recognized that Dalton is Davros' son, and that Kalimtas is the kind of like leader of the guild at this point for like negotiation purposes. But for what it is worth, you have requested information regarding your son. We discussed with you that we had tracked him down and found where he can be located. We have since acquired the one that you care for and are willing to negotiate your surrender of this place. Have you made the arrangements that we require for you to leave the Wardens behind?
We've scouted out a few places we might go. Might be a bit more work before we can just up and leave all at once. But if you have found, well, how do we know you're telling the truth? How do we know you've actually found my son?
What reason would I have to hold back on such things? It's not as if you have already recovered your own child, for you would not entertain the conversation were it not important to get someone back who is so close akin to you. And she'll kind of like look over towards Kalimdas. One of your own.
I'm sorry, just to clarify one more time. At this point, we actually have gotten him back ourselves, right?
Oh, you do indeed.
Okay, so I think I'm going to have to. I think at
It would
that
be
point,
unsettling to have those words said to you, having already saved your son. I
yeah,
imagine.
yeah. So I think I'm going to have Davros do a deception check to prevent it from just being like blatantly obvious on his face when she says that. Of course. Yeah, it's going to be very obvious that when she says like it's not like you've gotten your son back. Um, he might even start to like say something and then kind of close his mouth. But yeah, that's basically that's a natural one, and I have a negative in deception anyway.
Gotcha. So that's kind of like as she kind of like twists that, and it's not like as if you've recovered him already. And then as you like are kind of failing to hold this in is when she like turns her attention to Kalimtas and basically finishes with like, one of your own. What further proof would you require when we speak to you of needing you to vacate this place? How many days are you away from relocating? Would it speed things up? Were there a fire underneath your feet? Once again?
I don't think there's any need for that. Like I said, we've plans in the works, but um,
What kind of thoughts do you have about this with Malshin? Is he skeptical, having already saved Dalton seemingly from slavery? What is Malshin thinking about here?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. But yeah, he's definitely skeptical. Like he's not very good at hiding things, so he could probably like what's the word? Like looking a bit like incredulous, like hearing her speak about them having Dalton. So
You seem slow to act. We do not require there be any more bloodshed than is absolutely necessary. But I feel as though you fail to appreciate how dire the circumstances are. Are those you care about? And like as she's saying that, she's going to kind of like almost walk up and almost like look over the balcony with her back to the three of you. Are those you care about so meaningless to you that their lives are scattered to the wind, as my pale dogs are more than welcome to be scattered?
Davros is going to kind of like stand up and kind of like move towards her, and he's like, all right, I think I've had enough of you threatening my friends.
Then tell me how, when you are going to leave this place. When will we return yours to you so you can so you can leave this place as we have discussed, as has been agreed upon?
Dalton is, or Davros is gonna kind of like shake his head, and finally he's kind of like, as it so happens, circumstances have changed. I've already got him back. So I'm curious just who the hell you're talking about.
Strongjaw, the one who was captured with your boy. She doesn't flinch a second when you say that you've already got him.
So is that enough to give Davros the thought that she already knew, and she's been kind of, they've both been kind of like playing dumb?
You could play this out on an insight to actually see. That to me is far more about how you want to play Davros.
Well, he's not
This is one
that
of the
smart,
things.
but
Usually
I'll give
to
him a day.
me, usually to me, with a lot of encounter and yeah, a 5, I feel like to me that might be it's a little bit over your head. That she knew. Maybe just that she's like a quick thinker kind of thing. But it's also one of the things like in particular, Davros might even never have like even really heard, like let it sunk in that when Dalton was captured, he was captured with one of the other members of the guild. Because nobody's ever really talked about Brifford. Brifford is essentially, you know, an orphan in this place. He was a friend of Davros or of Demarcus. Dalton. He was a friend of Dalton's, but how close was he to the Demarcus family? And that's where I think we kind of discussed. Actually, they were childhood friends, didn't we? So
Yeah, so
Davros probably would actually have known him. My apologies there.
yeah, he probably yeah, I think he wouldn't have known that he was like if he was considered a part of the guild, but he basically he just knows him as Dalton's friend.
Yeah, so it might even be like extra shocking, and that's part of where, you're not even like thinking about why she had that name so quickly. It's almost like a stunning revelation, like your son's childhood friend is even being mentioned here.
Yeah, so Davros is kind of like when she gives that name, he'll kind of like almost kind of give like a surprised grunt, like "Hmm, uh, well, would like him back too. Uh, I can't
The
say.
price is the same. She kind of like leans back on her elbows, like against the banister, supremely relaxed as she just looks at you. Just, I don't need your gold. I don't need to take any of your friends' lives, but I don't mind paying in either.
What would you say if I said 2 weeks and we'll be gone? Place will be yours.
2 weeks seems slow. 2 weeks seems like a long time to leave one of yours in my control. But if 2 weeks is what you'd require, perhaps 2 weeks is acceptable. Harmony Pale Dogs in that time, and you'll see the scars on your friend when he's returned. I'll tell my Pale Dogs in that time to avoid provoking you. But it doesn't change that you don't belong here. This place is not for your kind. The Warrens are deaths. Be gone from this place. Go somewhere else where you belong.
We'll get word to you when we're ready to when our preparations are done. Until then, uh, we'll give my word I'll not harm any pale dogs, so long as they don't come after me and mine. If we
Any
can,
other thoughts? My bad, what were you thinking there?
if we can make it quicker than 2 weeks, we will. Sorry, that was all for Davros.
Any other thoughts from Malchin?
Yeah, I'll just be. Oh, like I said, if we get it done quicker, we'll let you know. But any special way you want us to let you know? No way to get in contact? Leave a message? Anything?
If you require us, you're being watched all the time. Simply wave, call out, scream for help. We'll
That's
find you.
very reassuring.
If you'd like, you can always set the place on fire. that'll get the message as well. So theoretically here, this kind of ends the conversation. And basically this person claiming to be the mouth of G-Wraith will walk themselves out, leaving the three of you behind with Kalimtas, more or less without any kind of like fanfare as they leave, kind of returning to a rather stoic kind of like disposition. I think the only thing is I imagine this person sort of recognizing that like Maybell is the other person who's kind of here 24/7. Almost kind of like gives Maybell like a little bit of shit. I was kind of imagining that they had to run past, like walk past the actual kegs.
But Davros is gonna kind of after she's like kind of left the room. Davros would turn to Kalimtas and hope I didn't overstep. But imagine, Briff is a friend of my son, and might have been. Sounds like he might have been traveling together when all this happened. So I feel like we should get him back. And if we're ready to leave for Dalton, doesn't seem seems we should be prepared to do so for Briff as well. And then he'll turn towards Melchin and what do you think? You up for a bit of cleaning house?
Yeah, I'm up for it. Seems like we need it now, and not later.
And I suppose another option is must be places for sale if you could scrounge up enough of loot from down below to buy a place, but that seems a bit of a crapshoot. We already know that place should do, and got some sense of what's needing to be done. So
Myself or the guild has sufficient funds that if we require moving, we can certainly handle it. I still own the property where your son first discovered an entrance into some of the tunnels below the city. We could perhaps buy the rights to the house that we are already indebted to within the North Markets. Or there are other locations around the city that fees can be negotiated.
well, less coin we have to spend on housing, more coin we got for other matters. The way I see it, so if we can fucking help out with that, seems like I should.
So theoretically, that kind of like ends what would have been in the past there. I think that leads you guys enough into the idea of when Jinx arrives, you discuss, do you go after the goblins or do you go down into the tunnels to reinvestigate that rat's nest that you guys went to last week? And this kind of brings us back to now. I want you guys to basically roll. Theoretically, we're on just doing all 3 hit dice for the day, and we're going to go with that style. Otherwise, if you want to entertain the other style first and make a decision, if you want to try it out again, we can do that. But it's kind of up to you guys. Have you thought about that like hit dice style, like those 3 different choices?
I'm good with just rolling kind of day to day. I went ahead and rolled 3d12 before, but I can re-roll them if you didn't catch them. I think I actually rolled
No worries.
the average. I got a 12, a 5, and a 4, so 21, which I think is
Gotcha.
just about average.
How about for you, Chris? Are you doing? Gotcha. Excellent.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. It's really good. Oh,
So here's the thing. I think you guys are probably golden to go into the Goblin House solo as the two level 3 characters. And now you guys have subclasses. Do you need a moment to actually figure out what you are doing as you level yourselves up? Or are you pretty well set and had known what subclasses you were choosing?
So I think Davros is just going to go the good old well-worn path of the Berserker, um, kind of standard angry barbarian.
Path of the Berserker is that's the one that you can like give yourself like extra levels of exhaustion.
Yeah, so at third level you can go into a frenzy. It's basically you can get like a multi attack, but then when the rage ends, when you go into your rage, and then when the rage ends, you gain a level of exhaustion. And then I think at higher levels, like when you're raging, you can't be like charmed or frightened. Um,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is I just want to make sure that we find a way to make sure that that is like balanced and useful, because that has often been one of those things where I feel like that subclass just kind of never really sat well. Um, it might work out as more balanced in a world where you guys have days between play. But also this is one of the things where there's a certain level of like part of like the hit dice thing is to almost give like an extra sense of the grim dark nature of like a week is going on between. So we'll just have to kind of play that one to see because I want to make sure that you're using that skill just as much as that it has like a negative effect on you as well. Um, but I feel like in the past, rules as written, the negative effect is so strong that people don't ever berserk. You know what I mean?
okay, yeah, because I was looking at some of the other options, and I don't know, none of them really seem to fit Davros. Um, I mean, I suppose
Yeah.
I could also do could also multi-class into something else if he's because kind of the now he's got Dalton back, so he's um, almost go like more straight kind of fighter, kind of to reflect that he's you know started fighting more and kind of maybe picking up some tricks and maybe even like spending some time like sparring like in his downtime and such. I could do that and kind of go more like fighter going forward. I don't know. I'd have to kind of think about that.
I would be willing to entertain the idea that you like swap those over like an extended period of time for a fighter classes, unless in particular you wanted to combine the two. Otherwise, I'm kind of tempted to say doing like two classes that are effectively share the multi attack like skill seems like a detriment to a character. But again, like I'm up to kind of discussing how we can kind of balance that. But like if you think that there is a sense of Davros calms himself now that he has Dalton, I would certainly entertain if you wanted to entertain this that Davros actually becomes a fighter instead of a barbarian.
Okay, that could make sense too. I mean, it would take, yeah, maybe it would, and that would be kind of also give him something to do on his downtime where he's essentially training, and then after a kind of a certain amount of period of time. But it might take him, and it also would take him some time for the rage to kind of completely fade. So, yeah, I'll give that some
And
thought
that's
kind
how
of
I see
going
it.
forward.
Yeah, that would be like a longer phase of your life where you're actually like almost dealing with the PTSD of losing your son just as much as like it's perfectly functional to say like Dalton's not going to be your playing character for a while as he's dealing with, what happened to him while he was away.
Right. Yeah. So I think for now I will go ahead and go. I'll do Berserker, and
Gotcha.
then maybe
And
go
I
through.
also think, something like Oath of the Ancients or The Path of the Zealot, I feel like both of those have a pretty strong tie with your like family. That's a pretty solid reason, like that. If that's why he's a barbarian, that's a pretty solid reason to entertain those paths. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about like what you do with those things, and I'm very open to altering them. Um, I should have let you guys know that I leveled up your characters during the week. That's my bad. Shouldn't have
Well,
necessarily surprised you with it.
I think you had mentioned last week that we had probably gotten enough to, because we were pretty close to, I think, level 3 by last session anyway, or at least on the Monday session.
I was vaguely, yeah, I'm pretty sure I said I was vaguely sure all of you should level at that session. That's one of those things where I definitely feel like it's pretty fast going through those levels once you're actually fighting. Do you have a subclass in mind for Malchin? Is Malchin all set with a sub?
Yeah, I think so. I can just pick Hunter for Martian. I think that's fits him best.
Excellent. So yeah, theoretically then we've got you guys up to level 3 here. Can jump forward to this week. Now, 1 week after saving Dalton, you guys are theoretically 1 week into this kind of time frame where you will eventually have to kind of like meet up with the mouth of Giraith again. Does this put you guys any closer to? Do you have thoughts about what you would be doing today? Do you have thoughts about what you would be doing about Brifford? What kind of crosses your minds, perhaps today?
Yeah, so I think so last session we had discussed possibly going to the Goblin House, but I think like Malchin and Jinx were a little leery of that, because I think Malchin was not feeling great. Um, but now like a week has passed, so Davros is Davros is thinking maybe if we're going to do it, we might as well do it now. If Malchin is feeling up to it today. Um,
Yeah, now Martian would be up to it today. Not being just a day after almost dying and feeling pretty shit. Got a good week's of rest here.
So then, um, I don't know. Theoretically, if you're like having this chat like with Kalimtas again, uh, if the two of you are willing to go finish what we have agreed to for Erel, are you in need of any of your fellow guildmates, or will you be handling things alone today? And mechanically, this is one of those things. If you guys go do it alone, you get all the spoils and all the experience. If you go do it with help, you've got help and things are safer, but you also share all those things.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm thinking of is we could use somebody who, I mean, goblins are sneaky. If there's like trap, well, if there was bear trap once already. So if that's something Malchin's not particularly skilled with either, if there's someone we could bring along who might be able to help with those, that might be useful. But otherwise, I think Davros is good to kind of, in terms of like strength of arms. He's thinking we can probably cover it ourselves.
You were thinking traps and locked objects? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean traps mostly. I mean locked things, you could probably break them down, but the trap, like somebody who might be able to keep a better eye out and disarm traps, would be useful if there's someone like that around.
Oh, and speaking of locked things, seeing as we had a bit trouble with locked doors last time, uh, during my downtime as master, could I have bought like thieves' tools?
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I actually posted in the information channel the link to Ebert's Outfitters. Um,
Yeah, I see. Lock
yeah,
picks
this one
for
just says. Oh wait, what were you looking at?
yes, I was looking at like Everett's Outfitters. I see he has like lock picks for 25 thrones.
Yeah, you still need a thieves' tool set first, though. I think that's more like if you get your lockpicks broken.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's actually kind of weird now that I look at it, because I see tool sets for 10 thrones. Lockpicks in particular are 25 thrones.
Yeah, from what I recall, 25 sounds about what the PHB has for these tools, but
Yeah.
it also, I mean, the description also comes with like a little mirror and obviously other things aside from just the lock picks themselves.
That's why I was gonna say I feel like that's why there's two different things there, is to separate the idea of normally in a thieves toolkit, the only thing I'm ever gonna break is your picks. But there's a lot more in the set than just that. I'm looking at the PHB right now because you guys can always buy stuff from the PHB. Um, things from Ebert's Outfitters, you guys have a 10% discount as Delvers. Yeah, Thieves Tools. Oh, they didn't even show up there. Thieves Tools are 25 gold. And then this set includes small file, set of lockpicks, small mirror on a metal handle, narrow bladed scissors, and a pair of pliers. So yeah, like the Thieves Tools kit. Um, yeah, I'd say just stick to the 25 gold. And you can pay, was that 22? You could pay 22 gold for that.
So I just got to step away for 1 minute. I'll be right back.
So he was basically saying like a thief or a rogue would be useful, somebody to notice the traps. Do you think that does not classify as Malchin? You're not. I felt like you were a pretty perceptive person.
Yeah, I mean, he is. So I think I just missed saying it. I feel like Malshin, he's probably like feeling a bit, feeling good, feeling on top of the world. He's probably more of the mind that we can take it on ourselves, and he's got a pretty keen eye, so he can probably spot anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, so like Zineth is one of the members of the guild who's like she's a rogue. She's always the dark brooding type, usually hanging out with Kiritoa. She could come around, but in the long run, if you're understanding that you yourself can certainly accomplish these things, and that you two don't necessarily need backup today, I don't think there's any reason in particular that you guys should take back up unless you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably wait yes from Justin, but yeah, feel like Malshon with these things that.
Sorry, I'm back.
Oh,
Yeah, if Malcolm thinks he can handle it, I'm good going just the two of us.
yeah, I feel like, yeah, I can do it. I got a pretty keen eye. Like, it's goblins. Disarming their traps can't be that hard. It's more treasure for us.
Sorry, could you guys hear me before?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, all right, yeah. It sounded weird in my headphones. So I wasn't sure if the connection was good. Yeah, no, I'm good with just the two of us then.
Excellent. So yeah, with that kind of idea, uh, if you all don't require any assistance, I can send a messenger off to Errol and let them know when you would like access to the house. Will you be leaving today, or will you be leaving presently? And he'll kind of like acknowledge it, say it's like roughly high noon at this point. What kind of thoughts do you guys have about when you would like to go?
Well, given the crowd that tried to follow us in last time, perhaps it'd be best to, I don't know, wait for nightfall. Hope we can sneak in without too many looky-loos. Maybe head over that way, find some place to relax for a bit, and then go in at
I
night.
could I could send Errol word that the two of you will be coming over for dinner, and then as the sun sets, you can enter at your leisure.
That sounds good to me, Malshin.
Yeah, that sounds perfect to me as well.
So if you guys basically end up spending, like 5 or 6 hours going about your day here prior to heading over there, is there anything in game that you would like to accomplish? Is there anything that you guys have in mind that you would need prior to heading off into the North Ward and or the North Market rather?
I think Davros will plan to stop at Ebert and pick up a. He's been going with torches. He's going to actually get a lantern and some oil. Maybe a bullseye lantern would make. Yeah, so he'll spend the coin for a bullseye lantern and 2 flasks of oil.
Excellent.
Yeah, Malshon will follow that idea as well. But he'll go for a hooded lantern. 2 flasks of oil.
I don't think I've ever even remotely contemplated preparing Eberth as an NPC, but I am pretty sure it's a tiny little old man, completely grayed out, and I'm pretty sure he's inside of Dover Square. Ebert Boltcrafter, a rotund and good-natured dwarf. So it's completely wrong. Yeah, he is in Dover Square, though. So yeah, just like a dwarf that is pretty much as round as he is tall. beard kind of like dragging across the ground, maybe a little beard kind of like trailing behind him in each direction. So you kind of have like these little paths in the dust of his establishment where you can see that he walks and his beard kind of like sweeps just to the side of him a little bit. So he leaves these like three kind of pronged trails, like his footprints in the center, and then these little like drag marks beside him as he passes around. But yeah, just kind of like a jovial, kind of friendly dwarf. You guys can get set up with everything. Show your guild credentials to save your extra 10% on the costs, and kind of pass on your way. Let me just get a set of D8s when you guys leave the Warrens here.
All right, that's an 8 for me.
And a 2
And a
for
2 from
Marshall.
Mountain. Yeah. There's no worries as you guys kind of pass around. You just kind of like pass out of the Warrens. Malchin, you might spot from time to time that there are indeed some children who are kind of like keeping an eye on you all as you do pass out of the Warrens. You guys have like traditional kind of beggars who are looking to get coin from you. All very kind of normal, sort of like the feel of the Warrens and leaving this place. I think overall, you actually have kind of a calm state in recognizing that, like, you have predatory people watching you who are currently told, like, not to bother you. And then let me have you guys roll a D12 as you leave the uh, Delver Square and you head off into the North Market.
That's an 11 for Marshall.
And a 3.
Yeah, same kind of simple thing. No real events happening as you're traveling around here. You guys kind of have a simple kind of path. You can eventually get back to Errol's house and find him kind of inside, where with a little bit of notification, just kind of like knocking at his door. You see the little kind of like gnomish looking man step outside and he like welcomes you to his door and he's just like, oh, hello, it's a pleasure to see you all again. Well, welcome in. We're just preparing dinner. Everything should be set here, and everything is all prepared. And he kind of like looks out of the door each way, kind of ushers you guys inside. I think we kind of established she's got 3 children. All of them are kind of busy inside the house cooking. And you guys can kind of sit down to a nice little dinner meal here. Uh, nice fresh, like herbs and meat with a little bit of like fresh bread. Overall, one of the things to note is things tend to be much nicer in the North Ward. Even buying like old food at the end of the day tends to be a lot fresher than like the food that makes it into the Warrens. Unless you're specifically going out of your way, like their old food is better than new food in a lot of the districts.
Appreciate the hospitality. Just, you'd like a few coin for the food. I'm happy. Uh,
Oh, there's no worries, no worries. You all are here to take care of our business. We still owe you some coin when everything's all finished. A little bit of extra hospitality beforehand is no problems at all. And I understand you will perhaps be moving in as neighbors. It's a nice way to welcome a new friend into the neighborhood as well. No worries, no worries. Very happy to have you. Very happy.
if all goes well, like to be seeing more of us. Tell me, since we were here last, you noticed any much activity at that place? Anybody even keeping any sort of eye on it? Any of the locals been getting more bold going in again since last time?
We've had that young lady with the ghost detectors heading through once or twice in the weeks between. Mostly during the daytime. I think she was certainly emboldened by your presence that day. Doesn't seem to be finding much there, but with the understanding that I have now, I think we can tell that they probably are still coming out. Things go missing in the night. Now that now that I understand what it is, I think it's safe to say that they have been coming in and going about and finding things to support themselves. Um, to kind of like have a sense like they're doing things here about town. And Chris, I don't know if you fully recognize where this was. I don't know if Justin remembers, but we are basically over here on Shield Street. Arrow's house. Oh, nice. That marker is much better than the old one. Arrow's house is that little blue square, that little blue house. And then just to the south of him is the house that you guys were investigating off of Market Street, uh, which is effectively like it was infested by ghosts. And you guys kind of like went inside of there with some of their other guild mates and sort of found out that it was goblins who seemed to have taken up um, a house there, and the local HOA was trying to get the shit. I had just watched Amityville Horror, so I knew the name of the family. But I named the family after the Amityville Horror murders, um, which I don't have it on mind right now, anyways. But basically, like the original family that had kind of like gone there, there was a big kind of like murder. Um, every other family had kind of gone in and kind of been scared off. And basically, the HOA like wants this house taken care of because it's just an eyesore at this point, bringing down their property values in basically this little block between like Argent Street and Market Street. So it's like a bunch of old folks who are forcing Errol Yannick into hiring you guys. Errol did not believe in ghosts, so he kind of like was satisfied to find out that it was goblins, but the goblins also defeated the adventurers like coming here. So that's why you guys are like kind of coming back to finish the jobby. Um, but yeah, I think that kind of satisfies what you were looking there with Davros is they're coming out. Now we can tell when things go missing. It's probably like the goblins grabbing up little knickknacks and whatnot.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, and Davros would, yes, I forgot Malchin wasn't there the first time we went in, so he would kind of describe what he remembers of the house, kind of warn about the bear trap that was in the entryway leading to downstairs. Um, the kind of the quote unquote ghost that we fought that came down the stairs that turned out to be Sturge. Um, but it's been a while, so they might have reset the trap or set some new ones. So he'll just just want him to keep his eyes open when we do go in.
Do you have any other thoughts or anything else that you would kind of like to discuss with Ero Yannick before you go in? Assuming that you already kind of like waited till after dark to come over for dinner, or at least like maybe that was dusk. Effectively, like the twilight hours were already passing by. You sit down, have a light meal. You're not necessarily eating like a very full meal. Even so, I think that's an even better reason to say like Errol's not like asking for money on this. It's you guys are like pecking at food, knowing that like you're gonna have to like do some work here. You don't want to have like full bellies kind of thing. Maybe he's made tapas for you, so it's even more like kind of like finger food as well.
Right. I guess Davros would ask, when he talks about things going missing, like, do they seem to be going missing from like a couple places in particular, or just kind of all over the neighborhood?
Roll a d20 for me.
18.
Hey, don't know if I think there's any pattern to be noticed in where things have gone missing. If I had to make my guess, more often than not, it's things that we have um, left about and perhaps should have cared more for. Most of the things that the pattern would follow, if I had to guess, is foodstuffs. Anything that you can eat. I think if you leave it where a hand can touch it, has gone missing. But that does not mean, and he's like, uh, old lady Tristan, she had her favorite trowel stolen a week ago. I know one of my boys had some jacks that he left out on the street go missing. And you have like one of the kids is like cleaning up the plates, like kind of like nod, like, and my dice too. Basically like understanding it's like all kinds of things that like if a goblin could get its hands on them, and all of these things fit the idea of what you know as goblins too. Like if it's something a goblin can get its hands on, it doesn't last through the night. And it's all things that basically like, I'm pretty sure old lady Tristan left her trowel out when there was unfortunately an ill-timed thunderstorm right before dusk, and she probably had to rush in from the garden and left it out that night. I believe she's normally better off about those things, but there's usually an explanation rather than that there's a ghost who's been in her garden. And this kind of sits with the idea as well that Errol's not necessarily sharing that this ghost haunting is anything other than it was. Sticking with the idea like there's no reason to tell these people that the ghost isn't a ghost and is actually goblins. Like goblins is probably worse.
Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's probably all the questions for Davros.
I don't think Martian has any particular question.
So with the idea that the goblins are more active at night, I assume that you guys probably want to try to be stealthy as you head out. Well, even so, just with the people around this neighborhood as well, you're trying to avoid their sight. But can I have the two of you make a stealth check as you basically try to leave Errol's house and head over to the goblin house? My bad. I got a 13 from Davros. Did you roll a stealth, Machin?
Yeah, no, I had to wait because when it got to loading scene, it froze the dice
Oh, I
roll.
got you.
I got a 2, so that's a 5.
Oh yeah, and the 13 would be a 16 for me. Sorry, ignore
Gotcha.
that E4. I don't have proficiency, so
Gotcha. But each of you are at 3 dexterity, right?
yes.
Yeah, the same with Martian. That's why his 2 became a 5.
Let me have you roll a. Let me have each of you roll a d4. I'm not going to take the one that you already rolled, Davros, but let me have you guys roll a d4.
Um,
Alrighty. Oh, no, you're good. I can see you got a 2 and a 3. This is one of those things I'm just checking to see if you guys roll a 1, basically, here. So you kind of head off into the night. You guys like step across there. This is a. I still never actually fixed the direction of the house versus what I tell you on the map here. But let's just stick with the idea that like north is north on this map as if it were on the other map. And maybe that like this house does not have the entrance on like the main thoroughfare. Maybe that's the whole point that we're going to get at here. But you guys can place your. Oh wait, I have to place you. Haha, the new owl bear. So you guys are basically like crossing over. You can see that it has like an entry little deck space where there's like a small little porch that you can enter on. There is a single window on that porch in front of you that you can kind of like, if you wanted to go up to and look in from. And then there is a single door that enters in. Davros probably didn't like catch you up on it, but I also don't think Davros would be like failing to mention that this whole place is like broken down and rotting. Part of the eyesore that the HOA wants this place fixed for is because it's in such poor condition. Like everything about this place is broken down and rotting. But you guys are currently outside of it. You kind of snuck over here without seeming to find anything kind of happening to you. But do you have any thoughts about when you want to enter in, how you would like to make your entry?
So I believe the first time we had come, we ended up actually kind of like smashing through the door. Does it look like it's been repaired since, or is it still kind of like off its hinges?
Ooh, I didn't actually write down. Did Vabuza take it off the hinges? I kind of feel like he might have.
Because I think he eventually like ended up putting his sword there to try to like block people from coming in. Uh,
See, that doesn't tell me that it's off the hinges, though. Um, I can't actually remember. I just feel like I feel like he was one of those people who was like in need for a Python, and either didn't know Pythons existed or didn't know to shove a Python in there instead of his sword. That was one of those moments where, like, I think you guys almost died in particular because he used his sword instead of a Python, and then also left it there.
right? Or did we maybe we took the door off the hinges when we had to carry somebody out, right? But maybe I don't know. I could be misremembering though too. So maybe the
I
door.
would say the door looks severely damaged. I don't think it's necessary to say that it's off the hinges, but say at very least, like the door might look like it's almost just like leaned across this doorway. You already know for a fact though that you guys could probably just as easily like charge through a wall as like charge through an entry like point. But you guys are also potentially looking to purchase this place. So maybe it's not a good idea to just burst through a wall.
Right. Good point. Um, yeah. So Davros is going to turn towards Malshin, and your eyes are probably better than mine. Want to take point, make sure we're not walking into any sort of nasty traps.
Yeah, sure. I think Bastion will actually go up to window to try to look in first. Sees.
So as you are walking up the your way, like up onto the porch and kind of like moving towards the window, you like get up to like the top stair and have like a and you kind of like wait a moment. Nothing seems to happen. And then you like take a few more steps and like it still kind of feels like little bits of the wood are kind of like groaning beneath you, and you're very slowly, like you almost take like 5 minutes to be very quiet about moving about this. And everything seems quiet inside, everything seems quiet outside, and eventually you kind of like comfortably get yourself to the window. And by the time you like look in and kind of peek in through the, I should have looked what the phase of the moon is real quick. Um, yeah, moon's about half phase. I think that kind of works. Yeah, so about the time that you kind of like peek in and you get like this littlest bit of like a sense of what's happening in there, you kind of realize that there is something that is a tiny humanoid shape that's like staring at you from the darkness and has been watching you, but has not been moving. And it is that goblin that is basically 15 feet in front of you, like to the side of the stairs, and it's just like sitting there like almost like Indian style on the ground, like staring at you but not moving.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn back to Darius. Oh,
What was the music bot? My bad.
oh, okay. Yeah. No, just turning back to Darius. I think I see a goblin in there, like trying to be like bit hushed voiced.
When you like turn to him and say that, you hear from inside, I think I see a person outside. No, wait, you guys don't speak Goblin. My bad. That should be in Goblin. You guys hear this horrific, like screechy voice, just kind of like not really quietly at all. I rolled a 3 to see how silent it was. Not really quiet at all. Just kind of like say something, and you're like, fuck. Because something is speaking to something else inside of there.
Uh, well, uh, seems you were right. Uh, and with that, Davros is going to move to try and move into the doorway. No longer really trying to be all that quiet.
Let me actually have us. Let's jump to initiative here. Let me have you guys roll initiative, please.
So it'll be a 9 for Davros.
And a 10 for Malsha.
I should have familiarized myself with the initiative tracker because I have no clue what this thing's trying to do here. All right, so at present, we are not going to use the initiative tracker because I don't know how to use it, so I'm just going to do the classic here. So when you are basically like looking to immediately start this confrontation, you're actually going to see is like the door kind of like pulls back out of the way, and you can kind of see inside. Mouchin, you'll kind of recognize like that same goblin, and there's like two other goblins that you guys can see behind it, and it's like holding this door just to the side, and it looks out at you, and it's like, "Hello, friendly neighbor. Welcome to our house. How can I help you today?" And then Mouchin, it's your turn. What would you like to do?
I am kind of surprised from the goblin with welcoming us. So, They could just say, hello, yeah, fine evening we have, right? Yeah, I think it's kind of like just surprised about this and not really attacking yet, seeing as they're talking.
Gotcha. You don't want to do anything hostile. You say just kind of something to the extent of fine evening. That is perfectly acceptable. Um, do you want to do anything else? Do you want to, and again, readying an action like often looks hostile. Do you want to do anything else? Dodging is one of those things that can be a little bit more like subtle. It's basically saying like you're ready for something hostile to happen. But it is one of those things that still has like a chance. Oh, you got yourself added to initiative though.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I forgot. I managed to find like if you click on your token, there's like a square with lines in it, like add to initiative.
All right. Well, I don't know how I added the second one, but that's something. Yeah, I still don't really want to mess with it, but awesome. I'm glad you figured that out. That'll help.
I
Um,
can remove myself from initiative as well if you want.
no,
So
you're fine. I just mean like I don't. Oh, I didn't know where the zero showed up from. Maybe that was from Davros. Was that you, Justin?
Yeah, it looks like it. I don't know why. I don't know why my name wouldn't show up, but if you want, I can add it back.
Yeah, it's weird to me why your name's not showing up, but Malchin's. Yeah, I don't know.
When I click on it, it says Davros token, so that's what I assumed would show up on the initiative. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, that's what. Maybe it's like not named for some reason.
But I know the 9 is mine, so
So yeah, one of the other goblins, like from behind, like looks to the other two, and it's just kind of like, you are, and it, like looks to the other two. Welcome to come in. And it, like it's just kind of like looking to the other two for like any sense of what's going on here. And then it's gonna go to Davros.
yeah. So Davros kind of not expecting this the greeting, kind of also a little nonplussed. He's going to he's going to almost kind of like tilt his head and then well, this is a little awkward, but we're actually here to ask you to leave. And he's going to step up kind of to the doorway, but he's got, I guess he's got the quarterstaff. He's probably holding it in one hand at this point, kind of like almost using it just like I guess like almost like a walking staff kind of thing. Um, but he is otherwise not trying not to look too hostile. He might try and kind of not sure how they're going to react to that kind of when he says like we're here to make you leave. So he's probably trying, kind of maybe like kind of got like one foot like back, almost like kind of ready to like dodge in case it comes after him, kind of thing.
Gotcha. So you're a little bit in a different kind of positioning in that your stance is a little bit more physical than kind of most of your other kind of assessments, but like your staff is not terribly threatening as far as things go.
Yeah, I would say he looks like he's ready in case a fight breaks out, but he's not looking like he's about to instigate it himself.
Oh no! We're the ones who are watching the house. The other ones left for the night. They're gathering. We're watchers. And then, like, the goblin that's holding the door is just kind of like looking around the neighborhood and like, yep, they're gathering. And I'll kind of go back over to Mountain. Maybe it like kind of like moves to the side a little bit with the door. It'll kind of like lean the door up against the window and kind of like step back.
I guess with Goblin like saying they're gathering, he's gonna like try to look around, see if he can spot any goblins outside.
I'll roll another perception.
Let's see, expertise. That was 2d4s, right?
Yep.
So that's 23.
Yeah. So as you kind of like look around, you don't see like any goblins in particular, but it's kind of one of these things that's like when you look, there's multiple places where you're like watching like almost like wisps, kind of like shadows that like come and go, and you're basically noticing like there's goblins like sneaking about this place, and you can probably like look around and spot like at least two or three over the next like 6 seconds where you're just like looking around and kind of spotting them. But yeah, you can definitely confirm like there's goblins who are like out and about in this place.
Yeah, still not being hostile. Martian is actually like going to go inside, see what happens. Maybe like that, and lean like against the between like the wall between the window and the door.
The like shifty one with like the weird helmet is still kind of like looking to the other two. Doesn't really know what to do as you like enter into the house. He's still like super kind of like you can tell like nervously like twitching between like what the other two are doing. Davros?
Yes, Davros is going to be moving in as well, kind of behind Malchin, uh, looking about to gathering for what? Uh, y'all been, what I hear, been making a nuisance of yourselves around these parts.
Um Joe, can you shut the door? Uh gathering food? And gathering shinies, and like the goblin like in the corner like holds up like this rusted like metal trowel that's like seen much better days, but it's just like, you know, a triangle piece of metal with a handle on it, and it's got little bits of it that are still kind of like silver and shiny, and it just like holds up this shiny, and it's like got such a proud like smile on its face. And then like the goblin that's like right next to Malchin just kind of like points to the door like, hey, can you, but we just gather things that other people, our neighbors, don't like. And like almost shuffles next to you like to kind of like grab the door and like put it in place. But it like kind of like almost does like the little dance like side to side of you, and then just kind of like steps back at the foot of the stairs.
Yeah, Davros will kind of, he would kind of like shift himself to the side to kind of let the goblin pass, almost like, again, looking very kind of like this is not kind of what he was expecting this night to start off with. So, yeah, he's kind of looking a little bemused at all this.
Gotcha. So maybe with that initial reaction, he gets a little bit closer to actually getting the door in place. But theoretically, I'm going to leave it up to you guys at this point. What are you thinking here, Mountain?
I'm thinking, "Eh, they're talking, we're talking, so he's gonna keep talking." And I mean, we would let him close the door. Wouldn't self way of that.
So yeah, kind of like puts the door back in place. The other like three goblins, like they kind of like just kind of like look about. Maybe the like masked one kind of like goes towards the kitchen, and he'll kind of like ask you like, are you thirsty? And then it, like puts a few fingers towards its mouth. Hunger? And then like looks towards the kitchen door, and it's gonna kind of like push open, like push on the door a little bit.
Should we? No, thank you. Just had a bit to eat for this, but uh, kind of you to ask.
Uh, Next one, kind of like the like scraggly one in the corner. We are neighbors. We can be kind. We can be friends.
Yeah, you certainly seem to be on the path of being really good neighbors. Uh, and with that, I'm just had to ask. You said you gather things that the neighbors didn't like. How do you know they don't like them?
If they like them, they would keep them. If they don't like them, they leave them. And we take them. We clean up the streets. We're good for the city. So we can kind of step out of initiative here. I'm going to leave it to you guys. If you guys want to do something bad to these goblins, you're going to have to do it to them. But at this point, they're going to try to sell themselves on the fact that they're an asset to the city.
Yeah, Davros. Yeah, I don't think Davros. He can't bring himself to be getting like mad. He's mad at these goblins, even though the last time they almost, or maybe not these specific goblins, but the last time we came in, a decidedly less friendly welcome. But
Roll an intelligence for me.
and that would
They're
be a
negative on.
13 total. Yep.
I think you probably vaguely recognize two of these. I think I had the top and the bottom of these three goblins in the encounter last time. Um, it's been so long and I didn't really pay attention to it. I don't think it's a big deal. But I would say I think you vaguely like it almost satisfies me that you rolled middle of the middle of the way. Because I would say like it works out pretty well to say like you're vaguely sure that these two might have been there. You're also somewhat worried that you've been a little bit like predisposed to think goblins are bad because like a lot of the like enemy style creatures that exist in Ptolus, a lot of those creatures are bad. It's often good to save your life to not walk up to a minotaur and assume that it's going to be kind to you. There's also minotaurs who exist in Ptolus as normal citizens. So it's one of those things where you're like on some level checking like, did we kill two goblins that day when we didn't need to? Like they let us, like we negotiated, but you know they didn't take it to killing us, and we killed goblins that day. Like, so there's definitely that kind of weird level of thing going on here. But now you guys are faced with the idea of it's kind of on you. Like you kind of want this house. Killing off goblins is a certainly solid way to kind of open it up for yourselves, but it might have residents here at present.
So you say you're gathering unwanted things from the area, and there's other places where you could go gathering. And if you like shinies, perhaps we can. Would you be open to selling us this place?
Um, that to me feels like you're trying to negotiate. Where I'd say it's a persuasion. I think persuasion often has kind of the mindset that you're trying to sell something that they don't necessarily want. Only that's pretty close to what these goblins are looking for. I'm kind of interested in having you roll me a persuasion with advantage here.
All right.
Well, we need to live here. Like I was hoping it would add up to like 30 or higher. A
I do
13.
actually have proficient.
Gotcha. So the 13 plus a D4, is there a negative for your what's that, charisma? Yeah, you've got an oh wait, no, you're yeah,
Yeah,
negative
charisma
two.
is a -2, and then
Alright, so the
um,
13.
yep, so it'd be a flat. Yep, so +0.
We can sell um oh man. I guess maybe I should just roll to see what it knows too. Um yeah. So goblins like bigger folk to help us. Big goblins rule little goblins. Bigger creatures rule big goblins. Rule little goblins. Big folk can help the goblins. You need the house? We like the house. We want to live here. You can help us. Um, yeah, I don't exactly know how the conversation would go on. So I kind of feel like this is an option to go to kind of a narrative kind of situation here where I think part of what the goblins are looking for is they need an in into the city. I don't think they fully understand that squatting is wrong, nor do I think they fully recognize that like they can't just buy this place. And I feel like that's where like there's an advantage to be had in finding some way that they can basically use you guys to buy this place and everybody kind of live here. And this is kind of going to be in a situation where like Malchin saved 3 lizard folk from slavery. And as far as I'm concerned, those lizard folk are just as likely to hang out with the guild and become guild members as like these goblins could do the exact same thing here. And basically become sidekicks for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think Davros would be. I mean, he'd probably be like, "We'll have to discuss some. We have to discuss some ground rules." But yeah, he would not have. Um, he would not be like opposed to essentially sharing the place. Might take a bit of doing, convincing some of the neighbors, but we can work on that.
And Marshall will like pipe up like, I mean, they've been showing great hospitality so far, so I think they would be Quite a hit with the neighbors, I think. As long as they keep that up.
Yeah, one of them's gonna say like Screech and Grabo have actually met neighbors already. Um and he's gonna say like they went out 2 days ago as one of your kind. And he kind of like looks up the stairs and he'll just kind of like, oh, be right back. I'll show you how they left. And he kind of like runs up the stairs and he's gonna disappear for a few months.
Davros is just going to kind of turn towards Melch and raise his eyebrows. And, yeah, and kind of like look towards the stairs, not sure exactly what's going to come back down.
Gotcha. So when you're like watching towards the stairs, as you kind of like look up, you see as a dark, like cloaked humanoid, like about 6 or so feet tall, starts walking down the stairs, and you can't see much of their features. They're kind of closed in with the cloak, and they've got like their arms kind of pulled into the side, so you can't really see like what they're holding or much of like their actual center like mass. And then by the time they like walk down to the bottom of the stairs, you see is like these four arms kind of like poke out, and you basically have like one goblin standing on top of the other one. And the moment they like kind of throw the cloak to the side, they're gonna stumble and kind of like fall off from one on top of the other and like plop down on the ground. But basically recognize like they also will like kind of sneak around to manage like to like go about things during the daytime.
That's a neat. It's a neat
My bad. I
trick.
should have sent 2 goblins up there. I didn't even think about that. Maybe he comes down with another goblin. That probably makes more sense here. Let's bring him down with another goblin. So, if you guys are open to negotiating goblins into the crew, I think we can kind of leave this overall at that and give you guys the potential to accomplish other things here in like a future night. But do you have any other thoughts with this initial encounter with goblins? What you would like to accomplish in this house? Are you going to kind of like say, hey, we'll figure this out. We need you to stop collecting stuff in the meantime and lay low? Are you just going to say, look, we need to go and figure something out? We'll be back later. What kind of initial thought do you have? Is there anything else that you want to accomplish right now, having met the goblins? Or having rather met the goblins on friendly terms?
Davros would be interested in basically like maybe you could give us a quick tour. I think we got only a very brief glimpse of the downstairs.
Gotcha. So the upstairs you're already familiar enough with. Um, I have these set up so they're all on the same screen here. If you guys zoom outward, I can show you all of the levels a little bit more separately.
Yeah, I think we had gone upstairs the first time we came, so yeah, that would be more familiar with.
Yeah, so like going upstairs, you guys could see what is it? I think I should have like one more goblin who's kind of like coyly kind of like colored up like underneath the like ramshackle bed up there. Um so you can see right now that there's a total of 5 goblins in the house, at least, that you know of. But basically, just kind of heading up that there is like an entryway into this top upstairs bathroom. There's a small closet that's basically like behind the stairs. But eventually, like you guys can basically see like the upstairs, pretty simple, pretty bare. There were 2 goblins who were up here before. When they kind of take you through the kitchen, You can basically see that like at nighttime they don't have like that like bear trap set. Like the traps that you guys encountered, there was a trap on the door when you first entered. There was the bear trap in the kitchen. The traps aren't there right now. When you came here, part of the difference is the goblins are all active at nighttime, and a lot less are in the house as well. But you can basically see, like, probably actually see where the bear trap is, like, stored basically at nighttime while there's goblin activity. And you can kind of see that, like, little hatch is kind of set aside to the ladder that leads down into the basement.
Okay, so yeah, okay, Scott. Just there's some nocturnals when they're all sleeping. That's when they set the traps.
Yeah, like one goblin basically stays up at night to, or probably realistically I think it's good to say like two or three goblins stay up at night. um Maybe that's actually will be, I think that's a solid explanation for like this goblin and that goblin to like go back to bed while you guys get the tour from like yeah, we'll say like one or two of the initial goblins kind of like continues you on this tour. But you can kind of see that like on the lower levels they've got a few like crates of stores. It's like a lot of kind of random stuff is boxed here. Unless you specifically were going to take the time to go through everything, I think you can just kind of spot that like there's stuff that they have created up that you would have already kind of seen that they have created up in this place. Um, Maybe taking a time to shuffle around things. Do you think you would?
I don't think right now he would.
Gotcha. You would eventually see when they take you into like the kind of like wine cellar, almost like room that's behind the other door, that there actually is, and this is kind of one of the things they will share with you, a entryway deeper into the underground, and this they'll like kind of slide like this side wall, and like the whole wall itself almost like pivots in the center of the hallway. This is where they came from. Kind of like slides it, and like the bottom slides to the west, like to the left. The top kind of slides back to the east. Um, and he kind of like slides that door and he'll like walk through on that side, and he kind of shows you he's like um and he's like very quiet once he slides that door, like he'll slowly move the door, and you guys can basically see like it continues on for about 20 or so feet before there's stairs that start to lead down, and you can kind of see that your light hits the top of the tunnel. But when you come much further than like where he is, like at the end here, he kind of like puts his hand over your light to kind of stop you from shining light further. And then just kind of like very quietly, he's kind of just has like essentially the warning of bigger creatures, meaner creatures, don't like goblins. It's dangerous to venture here. It's why we're happy that we found the house and we have a place we can live, and like kind of continues on with that narrative like of potentially living with you guys basically.
So Davros will kind of once he'll um kind of he'll go quiet when the goblin suggests, and then maybe once we've kind of started back, he'll kind of thank the goblin for showing them this, and suggest that perhaps if we do come to some arrangement, perhaps some of us can maybe clear out some of the nearby tunnels for a little extra security. Um, Kind of pointing to himself and Malchin and some of our friends. Um,
Now
and then
Malchin, you are vaguely aware these are likely the tunnels that you've looked at the maps of in the Delver's library. So you have a solid sense that there's probably natural caves, tunnels, as well as a lake somewhere down here. And that this potentially leads to all of that. So once you kind of go ahead, what are you thinking, Chris?
I was just thinking like I don't know what I was thinking. I dropped that thought.
So once he kind of shows that to you all, he'll kind of like usher you backwards, back towards the rest of the house. And as far as I'm concerned, unless you have any other thoughts here, preventing that from going to hostility, you guys have kind of satisfied effectively a next step in kind of bringing some goblins into the fold. And we can kind of approach that where we will, and kind of how that goes down. But it leaves us with a solid time to take a break here and potentially, this is something where we can go investigate, um, one of the rat nests. This is something where we could go. There's a lot of different places to take this. You guys could like try to wrap this up and actually like do something severely roleplay like of trying to acquire the house at this point. I am perfectly happy allowing that to be something that happens off screen, as far as I'm concerned, and do something more combat based. But it's up to you guys what we kind of do from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with yeah, either going back down into the sewers, another, returning to that either the rat nest we went to last time or another one. Or I mean, I know Kalantas said he has the funds so they can, essentially just buy this place from Aerith or whoever is actually selling it. But with the idea that maybe, that's going to cost some of the, gold from the guild's coffer. So maybe we just kind of go on a delve to, basically try and recover some, bolster the guilds in our own pockets, because Davros is back to he's pretty lean now. He spent pretty much all his money on getting Dalton out. So yeah, so something kind of like that, just like going down into and delving sounds good to me for the rest of the session.
Yeah, Malchin's down for that as well. He could sure use some more gold, treasure, anything.
Yeah, so I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Gotcha. Are you thinking something more aimed towards sewers and rat hunting? Like, are you trying to accomplish that, or does this sound good that we'll maybe explore something that's pretty much off the cuff and like venture into the Undercity and some of the tunnel?
Tunnel sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm curious about tunnels as well.
All right, sounds good. So I'll probably go for let's bring you all back. Like for the end of the night, you can collect that gold. Like we'll pick up with this, like, but effectively we're gonna start you off with the Skinner tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Yep.
So yeah, let's come back. What, like 20 after the hour?
Yep. Sounds good. I'll probably be back a little bit before then, but yep, sounds good.
Yeah, all right. Same here. Yeah, hello. I'm back.
Might have to change the name of the Goblin House. It's named Goblin Infestation on my map. I often
Uh,
feel it's
sorry, I'm back.
welcome back. I often feel it's anticlimactic to have monsters that you expect to be enemies try to negotiate. But I feel like especially with goblins, they're like precisely the creature that like wants to negotiate itself into like almost a losing position because they're used to being dominated by other creatures. So it's like if you can be a nicer, bigger creature, that's like what they want.
Yeah, and if they're worried about, whatever the bigger things are down in the tunnels, then having a bunch of essentially people around to cower behind couldn't be a bad idea for them.
Yeah. If I recall, goblins are one of the creatures that has like a small percentage of the population of Ptolus. And this is precisely how I imagine it happens, where at first they just start off as like illegal aliens that kind of like escaped here and are kind of like hiding as like oddities, but they slowly become like more and more normalized until they can kind of walk around like freely.
Yeah, it almost kind of seems similar to like how some kobolds are in the Forgotten Realms, where they're like they come out and they take stuff, but maybe they can also be useful, or they at least like tolerated, in certain circumstances.
I have a hard time not playing kobolds and goblins as the exact same creatures. Um, as far as I'm concerned, they have almost the exact same qualities of life. Goblins are a little bit more prone to thievery. I think kobolds are a little bit more prone to traps. Kobolds are a little bit more of miners, but like in the long run, they're such like almost precisely the exact same creature as far as I'm concerned, how they were designed.
Yeah, I mean they're both kind of low man on the roll, so yeah.
But I'm also kind of like from the Tolkien universe where to me a goblin is a small orc. I like the idea that as far as like D&D is concerned, there's like goblin, hobgoblin, bugbear. I like the idea to me that there's like a chain of big goblinoids that goblins grow up into. So I think as far as things go, the two of you can um collect whatever. I think it was 50 more gold for the goblins at present here. If you tell Errol everything's all sorted out, would you tell Errol everything is all sorted out?
I mean, probably wouldn't go into specifics, but yeah, I think it was 25 gold, right? Or did we get, was it 100 total? I thought it was 50 total. We got 25 for the ghost, quote unquote, and then
I
I
think I
think
paid you 50 for the ghost, and I think it was 100 total.
oh, okay, so 50 for the goblins. It makes sense then. Yeah. Yeah, I think Davros would be, yeah, he'd be like, yeah, we've, you know, dealt with the issue, but probably wouldn't volunteer any specifics about what exactly that means. Obviously he would tell, um, like be more forthcoming with like Kalentas and the other guild members about what happened. But yeah, for Eris, I think it's just be like, yeah, it's dealt with, kind of similar to how we handled the ghosts part.
Maybe even the 100 was the total to be collected, and then part of that was to go to the guild. I didn't even write it down in my notes. It's not a big deal as far as I'm concerned. Errol Yannick 100 gold for clearing the ghost problem. Yeah. And then I wrote down that you guys got 50 of it. But yeah, it's no worries. In the long run, it's like I said, like or over and over and over again, I'll say D&D does not have functional economies. Um, everything about being an adventurer breaks economies, so there's next to no need to worry about it. Um, and that's part of why I say there's almost always a cut that's going to the guild anyways, to where there's certain things that I can just kind of hand wave away. Um, one of the things about talking about buying that house is it's maybe not like buying like a rundown house in the Bronx, but like, rundown house in any old like city where this house is like 100 plus years old. Everything needs, you know, rebuilt on it. There's next to no value in the actual house other than the property itself. And part of that value is in the understanding that it needs a significant amount of money thrown at it, anyways. In the long run, it's one of those things where you get these things at a steal and you basically have to build like a new piece of property on top of it. So, in the long run, I think we're going to stick kind of to that idea. At present, that place probably is not functional for much other than a little bit of a roof overhead, kind of a idea to hide the goblins and perhaps to continue to use as an entry into the underground. So you can come back, share that with the guild. Um, and I'd say this is where I think kind of the big decider for this next day is kind of to just choose, like, again, do you guys want to head out solo or would you like to head out with sidekicks? And then I'd say this is one of those things. Do you want to head into like the place where Dalton discovered the entry into the underground, which is one of Kalimtas's properties that you guys have? Do you want to enter into the underground at the Goblin House? Or would you like to enter into the underground from like the Undercity? Or even heading into the sewers and just exploring the sewers at random? There's kind of those three choices. Two of them lead you like into underground tunnels systems. One of them is kind of random where you'll show up. You don't know heading into the Undercity that you can just find underground stuff. You might end up in the sewers and either have to back off or whatnot. And then one is just kind of like hopping into the sewers and just looking for things that are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Davros is thinking if we're going to be eventually moving into this new place, maybe we should kind of do some exploring now that we know those tunnels are underneath. Kind of just see what's close by. Um, but he would also be kind of curious about maybe exploring the area that Dalton had first found, which he would have now probably, I'm sure, told him about over the course of the last week or so, um, about like his experiences down there with Briff and all that. So either one of those sounds good to me, but probably be initial leaning for Davros would be towards exploring kind of the tunnels near the what is hopefully going to become our new headquarters.
Yeah, Malshan is also like curious about the tunnels beneath our new headquarters and like scout out to see what those big mean things could be.
And I'm so good with going just the two of us, if that sounds good to you, Malchin.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Should we roll new hit points for the day, seeing as it's a new day?
Oh yeah, yeah. Do you have any interest in going to the guild hall, to the Delvers Guild? Do you guys have? Well, I guess I do now know you have. Do you have gold that you would like to copy the map that Malchin already found of this area?
Yeah, Malshan would at least suggest that we do that, just to have a little bit clearer idea of what we can expect down there.
Yeah, no objection from Davros.
Hmm. Let me have you roll. Actually, I need to look this up. feel like the Delvers Guild is weird and that it's like 25 to a certain amount of gold. Yeah, 50 to 200 gold. So what is that? Like 4 times? So a D6 would be 50, 100, 150. No, a D6 would be 50, 75, 100, 125, 150. The best way to represent that. Let's go for let me just get a percentile from one of you. 54. Yeah, so what is his name? Shad. When you arrive, um yes, that map there, if you need to copy it, is actually 131 gold. Are the two of you able to pay that fee?
Davros is going to look towards Malchin and kind of give a kind of a shake of his head. He does not have that much. I mean, he can, he'll give you what I can, Malchin, but not that flush.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep something to myself and like scrounge up some 64 gold maybe.
We might have to come back then.
Yeah. I mean, the map would still be here. We'll just have to scrounge up some money first.
What did I just do? Where did the map go? I feel like I accidentally deleted it. I mean, you guys can still see it regardless. So, I think I had a stop button at first. Alrighty. This is what is currently mapped out by the Delvers. This is what you guys can see inside of the library. Effectively, I probably should have kept the secret ones out of there. I'm going to say that they're still there. Effectively, you will not necessarily know where anything starts or where anything ends, but you have the different stairways are kind of marked in kind of typical old school D&D fashion, where a wider line, like narrowing down, is basically leading downward. Narrow line widening up is leading upward. So the direction of most of these stairs are going downward from where they are. Yeah, yeah. I think all of these stairs, except for one of them, is leading upward. That you guys can kind of see here. And my bad, this is obviously a map that I kind of just threw together. So the idea of like where the black lines are or where the walls, I never actually came back and cleaned it up so it looks proper where like my actual like um like the pen what that I was using to like get rid of the like side shit, but gives you a sense of what you're looking at. And then now I have to take it away from you. My bad here. I do need you to perhaps take another little break because I have to hide everything now too.
Sure, no problem.
No worries.
Actually, I think because I'm just gonna hide everything. Damn, I lied. Are you guys still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So yeah, let's have just a roll a D8 for me from both of you.
That is a 1.
And a 2 for me.
Let me have you roll a D3 for me, Malchin, like a D6, and just divide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So a 3.
And roll a D100 for me, please.
90.
Um, yeah, so I'm gonna go for while you guys are making your way over to the house, kind of like early in the morning, trying to hopefully kind of like make your way in before there's anybody who's really watching and might start to like rubberneck as to what you're doing in the house. You guys are kind of like getting caught up behind a like herdsman with a bunch of like sheep that they're kind of taking to market here. Uh, Other than that, there's an odd little time where the person like takes off their shoe and throws it at somebody who is sleeping in the middle of the street, and that's kind of the oddity of your morning. Is kind of getting caught up behind a bunch of sheep, and this person decides to huck their shoe at somebody who's homeless. But other than that, you guys can find your way to the house. You meet the goblins. You can kind of spy that, like, at this point, like, one of them is awake and he's, like, startled at first, a little surprised to see you, like, coming back to the house so soon. Uh, Kind of, like, welcomes you with, like, a little bit of hesitation. And you guys can basically, like, make your way uh into the like cellar, and the cellar is just filled with goblins. There's probably like 10 or so underground here in this cellar that are all like trying to sleep at this point, and you're like stepping between heads and feet, like toes like inside of noses of other goblins. They're pretty well packed in all across the floor. You kind of like make your way into that back room across like the stacked boxes again, and still more goblins in this area. And you can kind of like slide the door aside, make your way into it, slide it back shut, kind of closing it behind you. And we will pick up with you guys back here at the entryway into this little area. So you can. Oh, I have to place it. Got a Malchin and a Davros. So no, don't want to do that. As you guys look ahead, so you're already kind of beyond where the goblin like took you before. So realistically, with dark vision and a bullseye lantern, you guys can already kind of see to the end of this hallway, where you see like the wall kind of like straight ahead of you. Mauchin can see like little bits to each side that tells you like that there's basically a choice, like go a little bit to the south, go a little bit to the north, but basically you're like at a T junction here at the bottom of these stairs. And this is just beyond where the goblin like wanted to take you before, where it like didn't actually want you going down the stairs or casting light down into this area.
Well, nothing for it now. Shouldn't pick a direction, I suppose. So, and he'll point off to the his right, so up the kind of north on the map here. Once we get down to the other end, if we're worried about light, Davros can kind of turn off his lantern for now if you want to just rely on the hooded lantern. But otherwise, he can also keep his lantern lit as well. I don't know if Malchin had any preference on that.
Yeah, I mean, the goblins seemed a bit spooked with the light, so maybe we'll keep with my little lantern for now.
All right, and Davros will go ahead and extinguish the bullseye lantern.
Yeah, like Malsham will light up his, sure, like, but keeping the hood up so like, it's full light at the moment.
Excellent. So as you guys head forward, would you? What kind of thoughts do you have as you go forward? Hooded lantern out, bullseye is kind of set to the side, or at least extinguished for now. What is your marching order? What are you guys thinking?
Malsham would probably like, I could take point, see if I have a pretty good vision in the dark, so probably spot anything before you do.
All right, I'll be right behind you. But basically, he'll go like 10 feet behind Malchin.
Gotcha. What level of caution are you guys just kind of like walking around? Are you still discussing with each other, trying to be silent and crafty?
I think once they've kind of worked out the marching order, Davros will suggest perhaps we try to keep the noise down a bit if we can. Not sure just what they might be down here. So maybe trying to move quietly.
Malsham will just give a thumbs up.
Stealth bonus wise, each of you basically has 3 dexterity but no proficiency, correct?
Correct for Malsham.
Yep, correct for Davros as well.
Yeah, so as you guys are heading forward here, you're basically going to come to like this T junction, and basically like a few feet short of the T junction is when you're gonna start to like panning the hooded lantern from side to side, kind of like come to the realization that like when you get up to here, there is a creature just kind of like off to the north that just seems to be kind of standing still. It doesn't seem to be moving. It doesn't seem to be reacting to you being here. But at present, you're basically like noticing that there is a large creature just kind of standing still in this hallway. What are you guys thinking?
Davros is well came here to see. He'll try to like kind of whisper to Malchin. Came here to see what's down here. Does he want to go see? And he'll start moving kind of up beside Malchin.
Yeah, now Malsham will give a slight nod and unsheath his swords as well, just to make sure. Or yeah, basically just stepping out, get a better look at what it is.
Gotcha. So are you thinking like unsheath your sword and like keep walking one like lantern in hand? Or do you want to place the lantern on the ground and unsheath both swords and move forward?
Yeah, probably like go just one step more, like then put the lantern on the ground before like unsheathing both my swords.
So by the time the light hits this creature's face, when you continue around much more than where you first noticed it, one, you're going to have a full idea that this creature towers probably about 10 feet tall. It is quite a massive hulk of flesh. Pretty easy to recognize that this is some sort of an ogre. Uh, in the recognition of it going from completely still to rushing towards you guys as light hits its face, you're going to perhaps recognize that there's something a little bit different about this ogre than, say, most creatures that you might encounter in life, or one might say in death. As you guys smell, there is a horrendous reek of death. Gonna go for. I need you guys to roll for initiative.
That is a
Uh,
22.
10 for me.
So we're gonna start with you, Malchin, as this thing starts to rush towards you. What would you like to do?
Well, seeing as it's rushing towards me, I'm gonna rush towards it. Gonna meet it head on. And I am gonna swing both my swords at it. So how was it? You wanted to roll hit and damage at the same time?
Yeah, if you set it up like that, in general, I would just say, first off, you can click both of the d20s just in case. Like, try to make this as normal as possible for you. To always roll the 2d20 and then roll a d6 um, for your damage and then your proficiency. So like 2d20, d6, and a d4. That should cover advantage or disadvantage, your proficiency, and your damage die.
Okay, yeah, let's see. First was a 19,
So
so yeah.
16 is a solid hit, regardless of, was it, you said the 19?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's the one that
19's
covers.
oh, yeah, I see the 19 now. Ooh. Okay, if I click on the number at the top, that does give me the breakdown. If I'm focused on your chart. So yeah, 19, you got a 22, it's like a 27 total hit. You easily are like dancing around this thing's movements, putting your blade in where you need it, for a total of 7 damage.
Yeah, and I am gonna put favored foe on that as well. That's an extra 1d4.
Favorite foe is just to your first hit of that turn, right?
Yeah, let's see. Hit chrome. The first time on each of your turns, yeah. So first hit and nothing else. But that's a 4. That's 4 extra damage. And then my bonus attack. And I'm just gonna remember this. Seeing as it's damage, I'm gonna add a 1d8 as well for my Colossus Slayer. And that's also just once per turn. But it's the first time it's damage, so if I hit, it hits. Let's see, 9. That's a 12 to hit. No, wait.
12 still is a solid hit.
Okay, and now it was a. Oh, it's 13 to hit, but yeah, if 12 hit, then that hits. Then let's see, that's for 7 extra damage in total.
Excellent. Solid bit of damage put down onto this thing as you basically are like slashing into it. This thing is just a hulk of flesh. It is not an armored creature. You very quickly get a sense for hitting it is hitting it. It is a chunk of meat that you are hitting into, but in the long run, it is not much for you to deal with. At present, I'm going to say it is likely to stick with you, but I'm going to give it a chance that it goes after Davros. We'll say on a 1, it's going to go for Davros here. So it is going to swing out for you. Oh, I need to open up myself so I can see the 6 to hit. How did I lose the proficiency die? Let me just roll a d4. My bad. Should have this. +2. Yeah, it's got an 8, 12 to hit you.
That will miss.
I guess if you click these, you have to re-click the one that you previously rolled. That's what it did. It didn't just add the other ones to that d4. And then it's going to swing out at you again. I guess in the long run, yeah, I think the d20s still need to be there. Yeah, the 4 is going to be even worse with a 1 from the proficiency. So it's going to. Oh, it doesn't even have. My bad. Doesn't even have 2 attacks. So that was a psych out, anyways. It's just going to swing just a great big like hunk of metal basically at the end of like this pole. It doesn't even look like it's fashioned into much more than the crudest of maces as it just swings it towards you, smashes into the stonework of the wall beside you, and it's going to go to Davros.
Right. Yeah, so Davros is kind of maybe a couple seconds behind, is going to rush up beside Melchin towards this thing, trying to get right in its
So again,
face.
just to remind you, if you go behind it, you can gain flanking on it, which is just a +2, but you can flank it.
Okay, there's enough room for me to get by.
I mean, in the long run, I think it takes up like a 10-foot space. So I think it takes up like the center of this hall. But I think regardless, I guess it's a stretch if it was difficult terrain. Um, yeah, maybe you can't make it there this turn.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be if I had to essentially kind of squeeze. I think that would be a little too far for this turn, but
Part of the
thank you.
negative of I really like using them when I don't have any borders at all, but it is definitely part of the negative of not having a border is not actually seeing what 10-foot looks like. I think it fills up these hallways. I think these hallways are, yeah, just about 10 feet. I might have them set at like 12 or so. So, yeah, I think maybe next turn you could get flanking or one of you could flank it.
Right. So just a quick question. If I roll 2d20, how do I know which one is essentially the first one?
That's where if you click on it on the top of your dice roller box, it does the breakdown like the old style, but you have to be focused on somebody else's box to be able to do that. So when you're focused on your box, if you roll them, you can click on that total and it'll tell you like each individual die.
Okay. Let me try that then. So he's grabbing the staff, his new staff that he got about a week ago, and he's just swinging it out two-handed at this ogre. I think that is going to definitely miss with a
It's gonna hit.
3. Or
Wait,
no, a 5.
no, no. Click on that. Click on your 18 there, and you can see that your first D20 was an 8. And that 8 is plus your 1 from the D4 plus your strength.
Oh, okay. I
You
was
have
looking at the
like
wrong.
12, right? Yeah.
So it'd be 8 plus 1 plus 12. Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a solid hit. Just as a spoilers, this is a zombie. Zombies are unarmored. They are almost always super, super easy to hit.
Oh, and I have to roll one more d4 for the flame breather staff damage. To be cocked, but that looks like a 2.
Well, that's one of the other things. If you let it show you the numbers, it determines them when they're cocked. That's one of the things. Like if I could get rid of the dice animation entirely, I would be perfectly happy with that. Um, just to tell me. But what did you get for the total there? My bad. I actually lost it. I think you rolled the 5 from the d6 maybe, and then what was that? A 2 there, so 7 total.
Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I think.
And then 3 strength, so 10 total.
Yep, that sounds right. Yep.
No rage though, right?
He is not raging yet. No.
Gotcha. So yeah, as you kind of like bash into it, um, let's see, you probably got some solid chunks out of it at this point, where it's looking um pretty like bloodied. Trying to think, see if I have one that actually shows me the conditions, and it looks like I'll have to add one of mine again for bloodied. But effectively, at this point, you guys can recognize that with like all the chunks of meat taken off of this thing, it's effectively half dead at this point. When you kind of like rush up to attack this thing, though, you guys are going to notice as like the shadow that this thing is casting across the floor actually kind of like moves away from this creature, and the shadow itself kind of like moves over. And I'm going to flank Davros and attack Davros. I bet I didn't actually think to bring up its stats. Start with that for right now and see if it matters. 15 should be a hit.
15 will actually miss.
What is your AC though? Because that's a natural 15.
Oh, 17 total.
Gotcha. So I've got a +2, so it's a 17. Yeah. So even with my
Yep, that'll
D4,
hit.
it shouldn't matter there. And then 2d6 and another D4. Alrighty, so it's going to do 3 damage to you, but it is going to reduce your strength score by 2. Uh,
Okay.
and then it's going to go to Malchin here.
I think Malshin, seeing this new threat, is gonna. Fuck it, he's gonna try to flank the ogre still. See if I get hit as I move.
Um, yeah, I think as far as the shadow goes, I think it will swing out for you here. So let's do 19. Yeah, it's like a 21 to hit. It's going to do 8 damage, and it's going to reduce your strength by 4. But you've got flanking on the ogre. Kill it.
Yeah, let's see. 2d20. Oh wait, actually, as I get hit, for my favorite foe, I'm gonna have to do a concentration saving thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, you just need to do a con save for a 10.
Yeah, that's 15.
Yep, solid, no problem.
So let's see. That is
8's already enough to hit it.
yeah, okay, yeah,
So
that hits. So that's 7 plus 8, yeah, 8 damage, and then the 1d4 extra as well. Let's see. So 9 total damage on that first swing.
gotcha. One more attack from you.
Yeah, let's see. And yeah, that's another 8 rolled for a total of 4 damage. Let's see, 8, 10, yeah, 13 to hit and 4 damage.
I don't actually have one set up for bloodied at this point. I don't think I ever made one separated for it. But this creature is effectively mortally. Or wait, my bad. That is bloodied. I don't want to have one set up for mortally wounded at this point. But this creature is mortally wounded at present. I think it's following Malchin. Got you guys on a 50-50 here. So we're gonna go for the first D4 is odd as Malchin, even as Davros. And then I'll have a D4 for it's whatchamacallit. I guess I really don't need the second D20. I know it's just attacking normal. 2d8 for damage. Those 5 dice should tell us everything we need to know. Even as Davros. 19 is a 23 total to hit. So it should hit you for 10 total bludgeoning damage as it brings down just that massive, like, Gainley club into you and kind of smashes you into the wall beside you.
Gotcha.
And then it is on Davros.
Yeah, so Davros kind of, as he feels kind of some of his strength being sapped from the shadow, and then kind of as he's distracted by that, letting the ogre kind of smash him into the wall, he kind of brushes himself off, gives a bellow of rage, gives a bellow of rage and goes into a rage now. And I think as he kind of like picks himself up off the wall, he's moving, kind of like toward, kind of trying to step a little away from the shadow, but keeping kind of within range and focusing on actually swinging his club back at the ogre, the zombie. So the
Gotcha. Not
first,
that you necessarily need the flanking, but you need to keep Malchin opposite you to gain flanking. That's one of the things that I think is like a particular of flanking, is to make sure that you're still like sticking to the idea that it's not just having somebody else on them like a rogue. It's specifically, yeah, exactly opposite. So you're attacking from front and back, basically.
okay, gotcha. So
But
maybe
you
he's
could
more
make
kind
your
of like,
attack and then move if you wanted to do something like that.
yeah,
Um,
that makes more sense. Yeah.
but again,
Uh,
like, you don't necessarily need to flank an ogre. Um, a +2 against an ogre is 10% on something that you're going to hit like 60% of the time.
right. Okay, so the first D4 will be the proficiency die, and the second D4 is the extra flame
Yep.
breather damage. Ooh, that's a critical miss. It looks like. Looks like my first D20 was a 1 there.
So you gain inspiration from that at least. There is that bonus there, and then you're just stepping aside, but not.
Not
It
away
technically,
from the, yeah.
you could step away from it. It already attacked Malchin when he stepped away. It's kind of like still in the throes, essentially, of attacking him right now. You know what I mean? This is the same 6 seconds.
Oh, gotcha. In that case, I think, yeah, having felt kind of some of his strength sapped away, he would be essentially, I think he's got enough movement now. He's going to essentially squeeze and try to essentially put the ogre between himself and the shadow thing.
Gotcha.
But that, yeah, he raged as a bonus action, so that is his turn. And I guess,
So
yeah, I guess he's gonna. I feel like, yeah, he would go into a frenzy, especially feeling the shadow and kind of then getting smashed. So because I think I have to. I think if I choose it this turn, it goes into effect next turn. So
Oh, you don't like frenzy on the turn that you would use it?
So it says you can. Yeah, while raging, you can choose to frenzy. You can make a single melee weapon attack as a bonus action on each of your turns after this one, which makes sense because it's a bonus action to rage anyway. So I wouldn't have two bonus actions because it's a bonus action
Okay,
extra attack.
gotcha. It's almost like when you go into the rage, you can choose that it's a frenzied rage, and then once you've done that, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean theoretically you could also do it. You could start raging and then frenzy later, but like you don't have to frenzy when you declare the rage, but you won't. Like if you do it the second round, you still wouldn't have your frenzy and then until a third round kind of thing. Because it says while raging, you can choose to frenzy, so it's not necessarily when you go into a rage.
Well, when you can go into a frenzy when you rage. I feel
Well, it
like
says
that's what.
well, the language says while raging.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it in the PHB. If that's on D&D Beyond, I might go for this. Might be a little bit more proper. Um, just because again, like this one says,
Oh yeah, because
when.
I clicked. So it's like on D&D Beyond at first, like on the features and traits, it says while raging. But then if you actually click on it, then it says you can go into a frenzy when you rage if you do
Yeah.
so. So yeah.
So that to me tells me when you actually choose to rage is when you'll decide whether you want to do that or not. So I think
Okay,
that's
makes
better to
sense.
say like that's what you went for there was the frenzied rage.
Yep.
Um so yeah, you started off next turn you'll be able to do the actual bonus action and that does make much more sense. So this is where I think I've got the shadow all set to roll its dice. The first D4 is to determine odd is Malchin, even is I can actually drop. I think I have a rage one. I might have to create a frenzied one. Um, but the first D4 is to determine which one of you odd is Malchin, even is Davros. So it is going to go for Davros again. And it's got a 7 plus what was it? I think plus 2. I don't believe a 9 can hit you as it kind of like whooshes across and tries to grasp at you. Um, what's its intelligence? Not really intelligent. Not really going to position itself on purpose for things. So it's going to go to.
Yeah, Mountain is gonna try to finish off the ogre. See if I can do it. Let's see. The first 4 will be my uh, efficiency.
Proficiency.
The second will be for the mark. Oh, let's see. That's a 3, 5, 8 to hit.
Still hits. Yep.
Uh, yeah, and then that's a 6, 9, 13, 17 damage with that.
So let me ask you this: with the what is the language of the like favored foe? Does it add to your attack, or does it happen like beside it? You know what I mean?
Uh, it is the first time on each of your turns that you hit the favored foe and deal damage to it, including when you mark it. You increase that damage by 1d4.
Gotcha. And then what about the D8 one? What's that one doing?
That's the
Like
Colossus Slayer. That's once per turn when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, that creature takes an extra 1d8. So
alrighty. So those are going to be two separate bits of damage here. You're doing 10 plus 3, so 13 and then you're doing a 4 right afterwards. So this has a 19 con save for the first d20, and then it has a 9 con save for the second d20. So it's got a +4 con. So I need to roll a 15 and then a 5 on these two for it to stay alive. It is going to die. My bad. That was purely important because this thing was a zombie.
Oh, okay. Well, with that one dead, Malsham will move on to the shadow skeleton thing. Let's see, that's 14 to hit for a total of
14 is
4
a
damage.
solid hit.
Yeah, that's 4 damage.
Yeah, I think you'll kind of notice like the difference of like how your blades like slashing through this creature. And it's just like a wisp of darkness more than anything to like grasp onto. Effectively, this creature is resistant to non-magical weapon. It would go to the ogre, so it is going to Davros. What would you like to do?
All right, so Davros, now in a frenzied rage, is swinging at the shadow. I'm going to go ahead and use that inspiration to roll with advantage here on this first attack. Looks like it would be a 17 to hit, and then let's see, 1 plus 4, 6 damage.
Gotcha.
Two,
And that included the fire? Yeah, okay.
yeah, 3 fire. I rolled a 1 on the
Did
8
that
plus 2
include
with
your 2
my.
for rage?
Oh no! So add 2 to that. So
8 total.
8 total. Yep, I forgot about that. And then he is going to, and I don't know if it makes a difference, but 3 of that would be fire damage. And then he is going to, in his rage, kind of essentially swinging again.
So I think the weird thing is the fire doesn't seem to affect this thing as much as the staff just does. Effectively, this thing is resistant to fire.
Gotcha. Okay. Uh,
Has nothing to actually burn.
okay, should be a
Good, still hit.
14 to hit. And then this time for the 7 regular damage and basically I think no.
1 fire though. You got that's what the 1 is.
Oh, with resistance, does that not drop it down to 0?
No. It still minimizes.
Oh, okay. I thought it took like half, and then if you rounded it down, it would essentially be round down to 0.
Yeah, I think it goes the opposite way, but I'm not gonna have it do nothing. It does something. That is going to be enough. Well, right now, because your strength is reduced, is that why it's only 5? Because it's +2 for your strength and +2 for your rage.
Yes.
So that's
Because
the 7. Gotcha.
Yep,
Yeah.
strength's down to 15, so it's a +2 instead of a +3.
That is actually just enough to kill this creature. Oh wait, no, my bad. Psych. I rolled its hit points, but I forgot to add its Constitution modifier, so it actually has hit points remaining. This creature is mortally wounded at this point, though. Yeah, we'll do the same thing. Odd is Malchin, and we'll see who it's actually attacking first. And then the second of those is its con, so it's on Davros again. It's gonna hit you this time with a 19 +3, or +2 more, so 21 to hit you. And it's going to do. Oh shit! I need an extra D4 even. So yeah, that's just the damage right now. It's 10, and then my bad. I need a D4 just to determine how much strength. It's 4 more strength from you. So you should now be at like a base 10 strength. As this thing saps a little bit more life from you. And again, I don't think it can survive the 2 of you guys here and get another attack. But if you guys wanted to roll it out, you are more than welcome to. Otherwise, I would just say you guys can kind of describe as you kill this shadow, Peter Pan's shadow.
And what kind of damage was the 10?
Oh, that's necrotic.
Okay, so no resistance.
My bad. Yeah.
And was it just the 4 total strength lost or 5 total?
That was 4 more. My bad.
Okay,
I
so I'm
think you've
down
had
to
a
11.
total of 6. You might be at yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, still base no modifier, but
Yeah, my bad. I all of my stats I keep on you guys are just modifier wise. So yeah, I'm usually guessing whether you're odd or evened.
yeah, no worries. I just wanted to make sure because when you said another D4, I wasn't sure if maybe for some reason this attack did 2 D4, so just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
No, it's purely because. Oh wait, did I? Oh yeah. It was because I rolled a D4 to see who I was attacking of you guys. A D4 for its proficiency die, and then part of this thing's damage die is that it rolls 2d6 and a D4 is what it reduces your strength. That's why I was saying another D4 is I should have rolled 3d4, 2d6, and a D20 for the attack.
Gotcha. Okay. And Davros is bloodied.
Gotcha. So same idea. You guys don't have to go through the actual battling of this thing. If you would like, you are more than welcome to make your swings on it and see how it turns out. Otherwise, narratively, you guys can cut this thing down with little to no fanfare. If you roll the dice, though, and you don't end up killing it, there's certainly the chance that it can deal more damage to you guys. That's where usually the narrative kind of has that benefit of just saying, we slash it down and end this beast.
Yeah. Well, you're up next, Malshin, so I'll leave it to you whether you want to actually roll or just.
I think I want to roll. It's let the dice decide. See what happens.
I like rolling dice. I like the way you think.
Let's see. That would be a 15 set
12 is the AC on this thing. Solid hit there.
for an extra 9 plus 5, so 14. Just regular physical
Are you
damage.
missing the. Oh, wait. Favored foe is gone at this point.
Yeah,
That was
I
on the ogre.
yeah, you can't change it like you do a hunter's mark.
Does Colossus. Are you doing Colossus Slayer here? Is that what the 5 is?
Yeah, that's from the D8, and that's when
Is
something
that
is below.
limited to a large creature or something, though?
No, it's just when it's below its maximum HP.
Oh, that's what you do. Got you. That's part of you being a hunter is that you do that Colossus Slayer. So yeah, the total here is 11, 14 total damage. Gets reduced down to 7, plenty enough to kill it.
Kind of Davros breathes a bit of a sigh of relief as the shadows kind of, I guess, dissipate beneath Malchin's blades, and he kind of sags against the wall a little bit. Maybe he kind of like drops his pack off his shoulder or something, like, or he goes to pick it back up. He probably would have done it during the fight, and kind of like he almost like he goes to, like, pick it up, and he kind of like almost like stumbles, like it's much heavier than it used to be for him.
Are you presently encumbered?
Let's see.
I think it's like 8 pounds, so like 80 pounds, 88 pounds, maybe.
I think so. I think he's just under that.
Yeah, when Malshin is going to get his pack, he is struggling with it. He's heavily encumbered.
Oh no, actually, with the weight of the backpack itself, he is encumbered. Yes. I was looking at how much was inside the backpack, but yeah,
Oh yeah,
48.
my bad. I think I've explained, by and large, I expect you guys not to be adventuring with your backpacks, that you guys often leave stuff behind, and it's the choice of what you want to carry day to day. If you have your backpacks in general, though, you will almost always be encumbered. Maybe not the barbarian, but
Yeah, I think Marshall is always encumbered if he has his backpack. Now that I think about it.
yeah, variant encumbrance is much more realistic. Like, if you've got a big ass pack on you, because those are big ass packs.
Okay, yeah. So there were a couple of things he would have left at home. He does have his pack with him, but I think he is actually okay. So he's not quite encumbered, but he's close.
Yeah, even if you go for an idea like that, I would definitely put something in there along the lines of like adding a separate piece of baggage and then basically saying like this backpack is home, and really deciding like what you carry with you. That was part of my point why I wanted to do variant encumbrance is I feel like even with encumbrance it's really easy to get into like Metal Gear Solid levels of like where the fuck is he putting that? Like adventurers walking around a dungeon having epic battles with like 70 and 80 pound backpacks on their back is laughable to me. Like you should have a porter that you hire to carry your backpack or like not carry your entire life with you. That's kind of my stressing why I think variant encumbrance is entertaining is the idea that it reminds you like, adventurers hire porters, people who like stand by and watch while they have all the heavy shit, or they just don't carry, their lockbox, or their traveling like wardrobe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of groups get around that with just like, yo, everyone found a bag of holding. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's something else to me as well. It's definitely one of those things. Like I feel like that's a lot of just saying like, what is the actual flavor of what we're going here? Should a bag of holding be something special, or is it like, do we just all start with bag of holdings?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of like essentially you hire a porter for not real super expensive. I don't think for like a day, and they're not going to fight for you, obviously, but they're just there to carry your stuff.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, like somebody like a porter is not like having a sidekick. It's definitely one of those things. It's a lot closer to just saying, like, this is somebody who's paid, like in silver a day. Um, and you just have them carrying everything that you might need. And it's one of those things where it changes the dynamic of play, but it's all about like what you're looking for as a table kind of thing. Part of my point was is you guys are in a city, so you're never far from things. You don't necessarily need to be traveling with weeks worth of supplies and whatnot. Either of you want to do an investigation on the ogre to see if this thing had anything from its life remaining on it?
Yeah,
Ye-
Marshall. Oh, if you want.
No, no, go ahead, Melson.
All right, let's see.
Davros is still recovering from his. He's trying to catch his breath. He's not used to being this. I mean, he's like normal strength now, but for him, that's kind of weak.
Yeah, get it. It's funny that your weak state is basically Malshin's normal state. Let's see, that's 12 because that's flat.
Flat 12. Roll a D100 for me.
63.
You can find 4 chunks of gold, 5 chunks of silver. Effectively, these are all coins. And then let's go like one small gem that's probably worth about 4 gold. And it all probably smells horrible. You don't want to know where you got it from.
Hey, I can wash it.
So Davros will kind of go to like maybe like poke his head a little closer to see what he found, and then kind of very quickly, kind of like back it away, and you keep that, Malchin. And I assume there's basically nothing left of the, like, no trace left of the shadow thing. It kind of like dissipated when it died.
Yep, shadow disappears in a wisp in the darkness. There's nothing to be found there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. But maybe while Malchin is kind of looking through the ogre, Davros
Actually, you know what? Let me go back on that. Let me have you roll a do a perception check. This is more or less seeing if you can top a 20.
Not unless I roll a nat 20, because it's a flat roll for me.
That works. Yeah.
Nope, that is a 3.
I mean, as far as I was concerned, I was like, you know what? Screw it. What if some sort of like fetish or something like drops from its corpse? Just to give you a chance that there was something, but it was very much unlikely because the way I think of a shadow is not that there's anything left over physically.
Yeah. But yeah, so maybe while Malchin is kind of checking over the ogre, Davros would go to pick up the lantern that he had put down back kind of just around the corner here.
So yeah, I return his lantern to him.
Yeah.
So you could, from that point, kind of check to see that to the. Oh yeah, so you guys wouldn't have even really seen what I revealed up there, anyways. But you can basically see like down to the south. I think the hooded lantern's like 40 feet. You could see where to the south that area like opens up into like natural cavern and kind of leaves like the paved kind of tiled floor behind. And that's where you would see that kind of the cavern or the hall kind of moves like almost to the left up ahead of you, um, where you guys like were heading as you battle.
And before I forget, Davros is now exhausted as well. And no longer raging, obviously.
Yeah, part of what I actually wanted to get at there was I was curious what they've been doing with exhaustion in 1D&D before I got even more pissed off and I didn't actually want to playtest anything for them anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I have seen the draft 1.2, which is not as bad as 1.1, but I mean,
My
1.
whole big thing is I don't think there's anything in the original OGL that makes it so they couldn't like take away somebody's license to their work if they were making hateful, like racist or like derogatory works. And that's what they're leaning on of why they need to do it. It just, to me, it's like, yeah, you guys don't make any sense. Tell us why you want to do it, because once they change it, they can change it whenever they want.
Yeah, that does seem a bit of an excuse. So they're already suing with the new TSR or whatever for essentially exactly that, aren't they? Well, I guess that's more.
Is the new TSR Paizo, like Pathfinder?
No, like I don't know, some people, one of the Gygax sons, I think, not Luke Gygax, but some other one, and then like some other people essentially tried to recreate, essentially like bring back the actual TSR brand, which I think Wizards of the Coast still owns. And
That might
and
be
I,
the son who actually made Tensor, because I know Tensor is not Luke, but I found out the other day that Tensor's floating disc comes from Tensor. The wizard was one of Gygax's sons.
yeah, and apparently like they came out with some stuff that was like really, I don't know, I guess like misogynistic or something. I don't know all the details, but and then I don't know, or they actually sued Wizards because like when Wizards put up the disclaimer on some of their old stuff through like Drive Through RPG or DM's Guild about like some of this older stuff maybe may contain like racist blah 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 stuff, or and then they sued and basically said it was don't know. I guess like it was defaming the brand, But
I can definitely feel that. That's one of those really weird things where it's like, look, it's fucking 50 years old. If people don't understand that it's from a different time, but like to put it on there now, it's definitely something else. It's a hard line to encroach on. But one of the things that I constantly, as somebody who studies like ancient philosophers, I can't stand when people try to judge ancient people from today's standards. Because, like, to me, like Plato and Aristotle are two very forward thinking people, but you can still bring up some shit where it's like, well, they're still men of their times, though. But it's like, well, you also have these reasons where they're way ahead of their times. And then people are like, but they're still men of their times because look at this. And it's just like, okay, got to judge
yeah,
people by the
yeah,
standards of their times.
yeah. Because I mean, people 50 years from now are going to look back at us and be like, how could they possibly have supported? We don't even know what they're going to be against. Like,
Okay, so here's why I was saying I feel like we should um like play your character on the fly because this is kind of what I was thinking that they were doing. Looking it up real quick. Exhaustion in 1D&D is going to be 10 levels. Each time you do it, you take a -1 to all rolls. And I think that means all D20 checks. So if you roll a D20, you take a -1 to it right now. If you had 9 levels of exhaustion, you would take a -9 to all D20 rolls. And that's what it is. If you hit 10, you're dead. But like there's no longer like different things that happens. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to -9. And there's 10 levels instead of 6 levels. But effectively, you know, you're at 5 levels of exhaustion before you have like disadvantage on checks, which I think was like third level of the original exhaustion. Um, yeah, that was third level on the original exhaustion, and that's basically fifth level of this style. I think that works much better with having a frenzy barbarian to give you access to 9 levels of exhaustion before you kill yourself.
gotcha. Okay, so -1 to all rolls. Yep.
And
Yeah.
then
So
maybe we'll play it like you can only do like 1 level of recovery a week between weeks of playing, unless say like you don't work um during that week. You could recover, maybe we'll put that at like 2 or 3. We can play that on the fly still to see how many you can recover to make it entertaining. But I feel like that's where eventually Davros will be forced to like reckon with like adventuring and being a blacksmith.
yeah, almost like trying to like the recuperation downtime activity or whatever, but that would mean he's not working at all, so he's not supporting himself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
makes
just
sense.
recognizing like supporting yourself from adventuring. In the same way that there's a certain level of like if Malchin is um like that one night that you guys came to the Goblin House, you technically shouldn't be able to earn a silver for like working at the bar, but you also brought in like 25 gold. So how long is Malchin going to stay a bouncer at a bar when he can go out and make like 25 gold in a night? Because that's one thing that I kind of want to push towards people who technically have a job is that question of how long are you going to keep this up burning the candle at both ends when you know which one of these is profitable? Davros went out adventuring like 2 or 3 times before he struck it rich and basically made 2,500 gold. Sucks ass that it cost you all of that to buy your kid back, but you also have your kid back. If you were blacksmithing, you would have never gotten Dalton back. He would have just been disappeared forever.
Yeah, and he was definitely, if that's the kind of thing, like if he hadn't had to spend that money to get Dalton back, it would have been, he'd retire from blacksmithing. He'd, basically tell his wife that, she doesn't have to go work in the, you know, go so close for rich people anymore. Maybe they could buy a little bit of a nicer place, and maybe he would still, be adventuring, but it would be like, yeah, he would essentially maybe sell the forge or something, and yes, go to like, okay, I'm an adventurer now, just full stop. So, but you know, next cash, I guess maybe that's probably what he'll look to do, or essentially, if he gets enough, maybe he retires, and then um, he could maybe like still be kind of connected with the guild so that I could play him occasionally. Like, I don't know, he could also be a smith for the guild, and then create like a couple the new character or something. But
Well, as always, I think that's one of the best ways to interpret how to bring in NPCs into a campaign. Davros like paying for his wife to retire is a perfect reason to say, well, I'm not trying to not do anything. So Davros has her retire and she comes and works like with the guild. And she basically is now like sewing people's clothing who adventure with her son and with her husband.
right, yeah, yeah,
So that's one of those things to keep in mind. Technically speaking, when I say like the goblins and like those lizard men like join the guild, in the long run, that doesn't mean that they have to be sidekicks. They can certainly fill out NPC roles. And it's the same thing for you guys. Like your characters can definitely retire when you feel that they want to. That's one of those things to recognize. You can come up rich real quick as a delver, but you can also die. So you do have to kind of make those terms with how long do you want to keep adventuring before you kind of like give in to the fact that like this is the best that it's going to get. Do
right.
you guys have any interest in kind of exploring, or does it sound good if we kind of call things here? And I feel like we've already kind of gotten to the like relaxed state of just kind of bullshitting after the session. But do you guys have any thoughts on that at this point?
Yeah, I mean, if Chris, if you want to keep going, I'm good. I mean, Davros is in bad shape, but I don't really care about that. Um, but I'm good to kind of call this a very, we went into the tunnels, figured out, yep, the goblins weren't lying. There's some dangerous stuff down here, and maybe we kind of head back with our tails between our legs for now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. Don't have to be completely tails between our legs. We did fight them off and win, and we can tell that there's undead creatures down here.